So, and let's move on. I've done that. I'm gonna use a lot of interactions today, and just to help you, I have some icons. In some cases, you talk. You are 17 person, so it's not easily to have a brief informal discussion on things. We're a little bit too many for this format, but I'm going to use that. In some cases, you're going to chat because then you get some more time to think and so on. I have a few cases where you can raise your hand. We're going to try together mode just in the beginning, which is a new mode in Teams. You probably tried it. And we have a few breakout rooms, and they are for processing what I'm talking about and discuss and relate to Scanreco and your G6 product a little bit. So that's a few activities we are using today. And I thought actually I was in the, shall I let everybody present themselves because it takes a long time, but I think we're going to do that because it's very good to have the chance to introduce shortly. But if you could do just, I can see your names and I can read the list. And if you can just say, what is your role and where are you located in the world? So if I start with Chris, what's your role, what you're working with and where are you working?
Yeah, sorry, I'm not quite camera ready. Chris Vandermeer, I work for Scanreco North America.
Yeah.
Started in about 2009, 2010. So I've been with the company for quite a while. And my role is Vice President of key accounts and engineering.
Okay.
So I do some sales and some engineering. So a little bit of everything.
Okay, yeah. Okay, great.
Vancouver, Canada.
Okay. That's good. And in my list, I read my list, it's easier. It's Fabio Fanfoni. There you are, Fabio. I can see you.
Yes, I agree. Hello, everyone. I'm Fabio. I work in the technical department of Fabercom. Fabercom is based in Italy. And I've been working for Fabercom for 3 years so far. And I follow the customization of the Scanreco products from the technical side.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
So great.
That's
and we have Fredrik Taberman.
Hi everyone, Fredrik, part of the STC team in Stockholm. I've been in the team for about a year now, so I'm still pretty new. And yeah, do a little bit of everything here at STC. Engineering, quotations, yeah, a little bit of everything.
It seems to be general that you're doing a little bit of everything. That's good. Guido Campanini. Your mic is muted.
Okay. Guido Campanini. Guido is not easy for you to speak probably.
Guido.
And I am in charge of the technical office in Fabercom in North Italy. I work since 1992, so it's 29 years I work here. I'm in charge of designing and coordinating all the work in the technical office, and especially for the Scanreco product. Ci sono ancora? Ho caduto la linea.
Yeah.
Okay, and usually I keep training courses for our customers about Scanreco, WinC, or graphic configurator.
Okay.
That's all.
Okay, that's great. And then Johan Nordberg on my list.
Yes, hello. Johan Nordberg, work in Stockholm, Sweden. My role is customer support manager. I have a small team, only 3 people for the moment. I've been in Scanreco for 4 years now. And yeah, that's basically all. So we analyze and escalate all customer claims.
Okay. Okay, great. That's a broad representation here. Lawrence Blumenhofer, the first joining the meeting.
Hi, I'm from Scanreco, Germany. My job is STC and service. In Germany, we do both the same, both things the same persons. Yeah, we do everything. So repair and design and build it.
So sorry for not showing the image of you. I had my slide on.
No problem.
Okay, great. Now we see you. So I interrupted you a little bit, but I think we heard. Yeah.
No, that's all.
Okay, great. Luis Miguel.
Yes. Hello.
Hello.
I was mute. Sorry. Yes, my name is Luis Miguel Alonso. I'm from Spain. I've been working in at Scanreco since 3 years ago. So yeah, I think it's my 3rd year now. I'm working in the SDC department, and we customize the products for the customer. So we do more or less individual solutions.
Okay.
And I will be one of the. I think we will be 2 guys that we will more focus. We will be more focused now with the education of our distributors and customers with the new platform and so on. So I will be quite involved in this training plans.
Yeah. Okay, great. And then we have Marie. Marie Gladare.
Yes, let me turn on the camera again.
Yeah.
I am based here in Stockholm, and I work as a communication manager, taking care of marketing and communication, both internally and externally. And I work a lot right now together with Martin and some other coworkers to prepare for the launch of G6.
Few months left. And then we of course have Martin Westerling.
Yes, hello. I'm also based at the Stockholm office, and I've been here since 2013. First working with sales and doing a little bit of marketing, having Marie's job as a part-time chore, but the company has grown, and we now have Marie on board doing the marketing full-time. And I work with product management only since a couple of years, being the product manager for G6. So it's mostly G6 for me at the moment, working with the launch and the digital toolbox and getting all the products and documentation and education ready.
Okay, great. Paul Majewski.
Majewski. Yeah, I'm Paul. I work for SNA. I'm based here in Cincinnati, Ohio, USA, in the STC department. Do a little bit of everything, help with SUS get started.
Okay, great. Right. Ryan, that was my echo.
Yes, I'm Ryan Arneson. I'm part of the STC team in North America. I'm working out of the Vancouver office, and I've been with Scanreco for 7 years in November.
Okay. Now we have Steven Baumer.
The next one from Germany. I was the 2nd member in Germany. We built Bernd Meyer and I built Germany up for around about 3 years. I'm hired as an application engineer, working for STC, create systems, repair systems, build systems. In Germany, Lawrence and we did everything. I make also training for some customers and so on. This is my job in Germany.
Okay, great. Sorry, it should be Stefan, of course.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, sorry. And then we have Valeria Avanzi.
Hello, I'm Valeria. I'm working Fabercom, Italy. I am a technician, and I follow in both Fabercom product, then Scanreco product. Regarding Scanreco product, I support our customer to choose the best solution for their project. customize product in particular.
Okay. Oh, great. I think I missed Anders Berglund, didn't I?
Or rather, I missed you. I was caught in a snowstorm, so I was a little bit late.
Yeah, see, it's coming now.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And I had the wind against me, so biking wasn't that fun.
No, I understand.
My name is Anders Berglund. I'm based at the Stockholm office, working at STC, Scanreco Design Center, with the same things as the other STC guys do, customer adaptations of Scanreco products, really. So I don't know. I have started a bit on doing more or less actual G6 stuff. So I'm a bit on the way there, but we'll see. So
yeah.
That's it.
Okay. Is there anyone else I missed now in coming in late? You? Okay, let's just do a little bit in the preview mode. And I'm not sure I'm pushing you out all in preview mode, in together mode. Am I? Are you on the? That's what. Yeah. You see each other. I thought we could do a little checkup before we start. Just if you could raise your hand, if everybody puts the camera on. And well, I'm gonna put some questions, and then you can raise your hand. So let's see. Everybody that has given training to customers, raise your hand. Okay. So like half or a bit less is working with the training. Who of you have created training material before? Well, it's approximately the same, I would say. Who of you have held web lessons? I think it's a little bit fewer, or yeah. And who of you have created online training material like videos or e-learning and so on? There are a few. Yeah. Okay. Great. So we have a mixed background here. So I will try to consider that. So then I shall try to share my screen. But I can see a question. Kevin has raised his hand.
No, actually, that was a mistake. I thought you were trying to test.
Yeah. Okay.
Raising hand button.
Was
you were actually.
Okay. So that's...
I was also reaching for that
My
button.
bad.
Yeah. I was unclear. Sorry. Actually, you can do it now if you want to. So if you, I'm sharing a screen right now, and you know, we made a team in Teams where there was some pre-work, actually reading a guide and a chapter in the ebook. If you could use that button right now, the hand raising button, and who has actually logged into the team? Well, there's coming a lot. Well, a third something. So in the future, we're gonna keep at least the recordings and the instructions and so on that team, and we will discuss later on if we can use it also for storing like work in progress. That could be good because then we can review, but that's a question of secrecy and so on, of course. So maybe we don't. We will have the discussion later on. Okay, thank you. You can take down your hands on it now. So in this course today, or in the complete course that Martin has bought from me, the objective is that you shall be able to develop and to deliver and to follow up online training, given like web lessons like this, or as material for self-study, videos and quizzes and so on. And we will use Microsoft Teams for this. We have discussed there are thousands of ways of doing this. There are actually complex and also easy tools to make videos or e-learning, but a tool that you already have and that you're probably familiar with is Microsoft Teams. So we took a pragmatic view on this, and we're going to use Microsoft 365 with its features and its limitations. So we're going to move from the classroom, and and create blended training where students will be following you on web lessons like this, but also on self-study, and that will be integrated in Teams, which means that they will also, if they are using Teams at home, they will get the notifications and they can go in and discuss and have questions and so on. So this is the course objective we have for the complete course. And after discussing a little bit, we divided this in 3 chunks. Actually, I mean, that's today's chunk is gonna be felt like too big anyway, but of practical reason we can't do more workshops. So this first one is like creating the content, the instructional design for how to craft mostly slides. The second time we're going to talk about how do you make digital content out of this? How do you make videos? How do you implement it in Microsoft Teams? And how do you make quizzes? And the last is about leading web lessons like this one. So today, this is the first workshop, and you will be able to, or I would say like this, you will be more able to really be able to do what I'm telling you. You will probably have this instruction, you will work with it, you will look in the ebook that is accompanied, maybe look at this recording again, and we're going to have a Q&A, and then you will be able to do it. But it's the questions we're going to work is deciding what to include, how to select delivery format. Is this really good for a web lesson, or should it be a video, or should it be a manual? Actually, it should be left in manual. We're going to define learning objectives. That is what the student should be able to do after the lesson. How do you work to motivate learners? A few things about that. We're going to talk about a practical lesson structure. How do you start, and how do you motivate, and how do you go to topics and so on. And we're going to use activities, talk about activities as the most important thing in lessons, and how do we find them, and what are our limitations when we go digital. Of course, there are many digital limitations. We're going to talk about slides and content, how to visualize content, try to avoid bulleted lists of text, and how to make test questions or quizzes for self-controlling your learning and so on. And how do we help the learners, the participants, to really apply? How can we support them to try things out on the panels and the equipment, and how can we support them then? So that's the last part. And finally, this first section of the work is writing the script, and we assume you use PowerPoint for that. You could, of course, use other means and tools. Normally, it's the most common tool would be PowerPoint. So we have a PowerPoint lesson template, and we're going to also talk about practical things in the end of this, how we're going to work the closest week. So that's this workshop. So the next workshop is how do you implement this in online as a self-study material, and we're going to show how you can build a structure for a lesson using Teams with the channels and the tabs on things. How you can record videos actually with PowerPoint or externally, and then upload it and then have it as a lesson. And how you can use a tool called Microsoft Forms to make quizzes. And maybe if you have more time, there are much more interactivity you can add if you want to, but this would be the basics. So that's the next part. And the final part is how to work in a web lesson as I am doing right now, and use the tools that are there for making interactions, like we have chat, we have poll questions and whiteboards and things. How do you use that? That's going to be the last thing to train. So generally, the setup of this is that you will have self-study. As I recommended to read the first chapter now, before the next time you're going to read a few chapters more that you can look at. And the web lessons like now is more to give you an overview and process some of the information and make you, if you have questions and so on. Of course, since there are only 3 occasions and they are 4 hours long, it's going to be a lot of information, and we try to process this, but remember, you can always fall back to the ebook and to the recording and to actually doing it, and we have a Q&A session as well. there is an assignment, of course, and the assignment is actually normally the production you're going to do. You're going to develop content, some of it you're going to record, and then you're going to try to practice on having web lessons as the last things. And then, of course, you can always collaborate. You can ask questions to me or others, or in the team. I heard you are Team Sweden, Team US, and so on for producing material. And you can upload things and get comments and so on. So we try to collaborate using the teams. So that's the setup we are using. And then the workflow is today it's workshop 1. And after this, the practice is making your lessons in PowerPoint. And you will also have to, if you want to, read more or rehearse in the ebook. And for this session, we have in the beginning of, I think it's the second week, might be the 14th. I have a date later on, 15th of April. That's in a month, something. We have a Q&A session. And before that, you can put your questions to me. You can upload maybe material you want me to review and so on. And then we're going to discuss these and have deeper questions and so on. And then we work with the workshop 2 and so on. So this is the workflow of it. And on this Q&A, just that what you can do is to have questions on the content. You can have technical questions. I think you're going to have that later on when we make digital content, work with teams. And we can use the last time to really, if you want to practice something on the Q&A, you can practice your introduction and get feedback from the rest of us, so we can help each other in getting a good performance then before you meet the customers. So that's about the course flow. So now I'm gonna go into the first part. I'm just gonna arrange my screen a little bit. If you have a question, I'm partly covering my screen, so try to use this hand that I'm raising right now. Then I will see it much easier if you have a question. But I try to look at the videos as well at the same time. So this is the agenda for today, and we're gonna have a few breaks. I think it's 3 breaks and maybe 4 or 5 breakout rooms to practice. So the first thing is actually planning the lesson. I see you got like part of the manual to just talk about and then to produce lessons on. So, but the first thing is to decide what of this shall be in lessons and what should be left for the manual for people to look up on. So this is the first issue we're going to talk about. And so it's deciding what to include, decide what is the best delivery format, and define learning objectives. And this is normally something you call an analysis of design, which could take some time. And I'm trying to make this very quick now and just use the simplest part, not overcomplicating it. And if you think I'm overcomplicating it, well, just tell me and I'll try to talk less then. So if you could start to just bring up your cameras. If you bring up your cameras and you use on the mobile, if you do that, you will be able to come to a quiz. Looks like that screen. I think it should work for you all. And while you are answering this, the question is, how do you, there are, of course, big things, big changes, small things. But if you take an average new device or product you're going to work with, or maybe get a new system at the job that you're using at work, how do you learn that? How do you normalize? Do you just try it out? Do you read the manual? Do you search the intranet? And so on. And you can click multiple of these. So let's click that. And while you're doing that, I'm going to bring up the result and see how it looks. Let's see, I have the results. And I'm gonna show that. So I've seen 7 have 7 have, now it's 9. I'm waiting a little bit. Well, I can just see that manually you just try out. You're like me. Try out, you read the manual, it's the second right now. And you ask colleagues, of course. And then I think it's searching for it. Yeah, that's what I do as well. I search, but I don't have an intranet, of course, so I search external websites. And then you ask experts. And a little share is taking an online course. And right now, of course, you don't take, can I see that, classroom courses. I have 12 responses. So is there anyone that, is there anyone that that want to answer that but haven't done it?
I didn't have the phone.
Oh, you didn't? Yeah, and it was too complex for me right now. I actually have a link you could have used, but we're gonna have more question on that, and then I'm gonna prepare to give you that link that you could see. You can see it down here. But I think for the instructional purpose, I'm so satisfied with 13 results. So we can see the winner is try it out, then reading the manual, and then asking colleagues. Let's see what's generally there. This is what when I often take these kind of questions, and there are a lot of searches for that. How do people learn? And the general thing is that it's what you do. You try in experiences, you're searching a lot, and you ask colleagues, and a very little part is taking online courses. But we're going to build online courses. So let's talk a little bit more about that. This is very old. It's a guy called Ebbinghauser. 100 years ago, he was researching about how much do we remember from courses, and you can depict a course like this. During the blue curve is that during the training you build some capability, of course, and you practice and so on. But if you're not using that knowledge directly, you will forget it further on. And the problem is that later on, maybe a month or 2 months later, you come to that situation with a customer and you're going to use and apply it, and you have forgotten it all. So that's a problem. And actually, he researched that we forget 70% of classes in 2 days. So on Monday, you probably forgotten a lot of the details that I'm taught you right now. That's sad. And then another guy called Brinkerhoff, he said that only 15% applies what they learned of courses. So what I'm talking about right now, maybe a few of you will apply it. I hope for much more. So that's the whole idea of this course, of course. But this is in general practice. So that takes some consideration. And here's another one. There's a lot of studies also on how do people learn nowadays. We're used to, I mean, of course, this was all even before the corona. Now it's even more like it's digital and online. But before, there had been a change in the way we learn. I think when mobile and internet has come, we are more and more used to learn in much shorter moments. They say that the video could be nothing more than 4 minutes, then we lose attention. We want to use the mobile before the computer or something else. My experience is that most people want to learn just in time when they need it at work. And they also want to learn a lot from others, like you did. You're talking about experts. Let's call the expert, or let's send a message in Teams to the expert, for example. And a lot of people right now in companies, they take training on own initiative. They don't think they get the training from the companies, and especially if you work in IT, companies are not managing up. They are not speeding up enough. So they take courses on online libraries like Udacity, Coursera, and so on. These are online libraries for IT, and they spend their own money for this actually. So I was giving all these examples like some kind of introduction to just tell you that this training won't solve everything. But I'm a very pessimistic. That was a very pessimistic vision. So could you help me a little bit and tell me in this chat, if you think a little bit, why do we need to give training on the G6? Isn't the documentation enough? And I know that's a provocative question, but if you just have a minute to think a little bit, what is the main purpose of giving training on the G6? What will we benefit knowing everything about the forgetting and everything? And I will bring up the chat and look at that if you write. Let's see. And I will see. Chris, yeah, people won't read the manual on their own. So the training will be driving interest as a company, like. So we do it socially together. We read. Yeah, so they will have done it. It's a good reason, really. While you're writing, I can just add on. That's also a little bit about, you know, self-study materials, videos and so on. People don't take that on their own either. So you need to blend it in with courses with an instructor. And Ryan, people have different learning styles. Absolutely. I don't think everybody is the one that just searches or just tries out. Some want to have it taught by and discussed with others. Yes. And Paul, you want to sell more G6? Yeah, probably it's an occasion where you can talk about the benefits and actually have a relation building moment with the customers. Of course, that's good. Guido, it's important to give a global view of the subject to train. That's another very good idea. You have one message on the functionality and the benefits and so on that you're talking about. That could be very different if you don't have it. Yeah, Johan again. This is a relationship moment with the customer, so it's a sales opportunity. Lawrence, they work with G2 and don't need training, so we have to push them to G6 with that training. You can. Oh yeah. So you explain that again. So it's half and half, a little bit of a sales moment. And maybe we should remember that when crafting the learning objective and the content in this. In the lessons. Stefan, it's complete different system to G2. So that means the larger the changes, maybe you need to unlearn. Maybe you need to discuss with the students to unlearn. Now it's done completely different now. They just assume that it's similar otherwise. Yeah. So there are many reasons to give training. Good, great. So let's see a little bit, but how do we do this then, giving this training? And a normal process, making a simple one, we need to make some kind of planning first. And that planning includes that we need to understand the needs of these target audiences. And we need to craft out exactly what should they be able to do after the lessons. So, and we need to decide on what kind of course activities does this, achieves this. And we probably have some technology to plan. And then this next phase is developing the content. And that's around how do you make a good motivation introduction? What's in it for me? How do you add activities on digital and online training? I mean, you can't hold the equipment and show things. How do you do it? How do we add activity? And also how do you visualize? And then we have the digital, and how do we practically work with the tools to record things? How do we work with other tools to make quizzes? And how do we use Teams to prepare teams? And then, of course, we have the facilitation, like I'm doing right now, and you're gonna do. You can use this as to see and reflect. Please reflect on: is it too long to have 4 hours? Does Johan have too long moments between interactivities and so on? And how does he behave? Is this too boring or whatever? So we're gonna talk about that in the lesson. How you conduct? How do you open up a lesson to create a relationship? How do you facilitate with questions and activities? And how do you try to engage students? And then finally, I don't think that's a big thing, but normally after training you need to evaluate, and are you giving more trainings? Of course you should evaluate what worked, what didn't work, what can I improve, and so on for the next time. You have recordings that you might distribute to the customers, and you need to, if there is a sequence of training, to explain the next steps. So this is the workflow, and today we're gonna make the first two steps. And the first thing at all we need to know is, who am I training? And if you think a little bit, what do we need to know about the users to be able to develop a lesson? What do we need to know about them to make a good lesson, a good training? Few things, just out on top of your mind, write it down in the chat. The technical level, the skill level probably. There was Chris, Paul. What's the skill set? Yes. What do they know? We need to know that. To where should we be? That's I don't know your skill set on learning. Chris, the role in company. Yes. Are they sales, or what are they technology, or the configuration? Lawrence, what background? For what is it needed? Like, again, sales. Guido, the technical preparation to use a proper language. Probably their technical level, I think. Role and so on. I think it's coming again, their role and their skill level. So just write on. I have a few more things here. Of course, the jobs. We need to know the jobs. Typically, I worked for Ericsson, and then they tried to train everybody at one take because they had a classroom training, and that meant that salespeople had to go 18 days, even if they just wanted to have one or two as a part, because we group everything together. Sales wants a few things, the technical benefits and so on, and service technician, how to repair and so on. So we need the jobs, the tasks. We need to know the tasks. What should people be able to do in their work with this? What are they doing frequently, and what are they doing seldom? We need to know about the total concept of support. I mean, maybe if you do have a very good support page where you can find answers of everything in a millisecond, then the training could be less, actually. How and when to learn in their perspective. Are you taking them out to work? Is it better to have a whole day because then they are free from other things, distractions, or how should it work? Their current skill level, of course. Their motivation. Will they be motivated to learn this new product, or are they satisfied with other products they sell and work with? Of course, the available time is important. Martin and me, we talked about this time. We hoped you had this time available for this, but your customers, you don't know how much time will they set. How much can you squeeze into that time, and so on. And their technical environment. Again, we are using Teams now, but do they have computers and so on? Will there be bandwidth limitations and other things? And how used are they to use web lessons? So there are questions you need to ask before knowing the question. And here's another question. Knowing this about that we forget a lot in 2 days and so on, and if you apply what I learned, what is most important in this training? Is it to A, if you write that A in the chat, to really be sure that you cover everything in the manual? Is that the most important? You know, if we have a time limitation, we need to squeeze in things. What should we prioritize? Ensuring the content on the manual is covered, or B, ensuring that the students can perform the critical tasks? A or B? Yeah, it seems like B, of course. So we know they really can work with the machine. The frequent critical tasks are really learned. That's what you say. So the thing we need to start with then is to understand, okay, what are the frequent critical tasks on G6? Of all the tasks you can do, everything a service engineer, I understand that people configure this some way or build it into their products. And I think you have service engineers probably. What of these are most important to learn about? Second thing, if you're gonna learn to do something, you have a task to do on that equipment. What do you then need to learn? What functions, maybe, components, design, routines? What is it you need to learn to support that task, really? That's the second thing we're gonna do. We're gonna break down that task into what to learn. And the third thing, knowing what to learn, and we're going to decide what kind of activities most suitable. Do you need an instructor to guide you, like in online learning or classroom? Now I think it's online learning, of course, web learning. Or is it actually better to have a just-in-time video or a just-in-time manual? Is that the best thing? What is the best thing to support that problem? So we need to think about that. I think normally I've seen some A's, but the normal thing is that you think that, well, we have written the manual, so we need to communicate the manual in the training, everything. But considering that time is limited and we forget things very quick, it's critical to select the few critical things, the tasks that you really need to be good at, to concentrate on that limited time. And that should be things that people are then using pretty often on the machinery, and that is critical. So that's the first thing to do. And how do you do that then? How do you decide what tasks to train? Well, I'm using, this is, for example, I'm gonna have a course in how you use Teams. And my last course is using Teams for having training, and in training you have polls, you have chat, and you have group rooms and those kind of things. So I have 4 hours for that, limited time, and you're going to forget the most of it. So what should I focus on? What should I include? I can only include one of them. Should I include how to manage breakout rooms for that training, A? Or should I include like settings, how to change the theme from black to white? What would you say? A or B? Yeah. So here's a thinking. The thinking is that the time is limited and what people will remember is limited. So you need to focus on what is really important, and what we should select is things that have impact on their work. For me, or for you as a web instructor, it has really large impact that you can use the group room, because then that's something you're going to use often in your lessons. You should also select, is it intuitive or is it difficult? If it's difficult, then it needs to be explained and maybe have discussions on and trained on. If it's just intuitive, you can look it up in the manual just in time. And the last question you can ask when you select things is to really look at, is this done frequently? Is this, if you have a new software, should you learn all 1,000 functions, or should you learn the 10 most often used functions? Of course, it's the 10 most often used functions you learn, the critical ones that make you running. Because if you're gonna learn these kind of settings and things that you do once a year, you will forget that. So you are squeezing in things in your course that you will forget, and in that way destroying the important part. So these are three factors you could start to think of when you decide what tasks shall we support: the ones that are having impact on their jobs, the ones that are difficult, and the ones that are frequent. Here comes another thing then. Okay, so you will support the critical things, and these are the tasks. And this is an example. This was made, I think, is from a big logistics systems that I helped. But if I'm gonna support them how to plan incoming cargo, what shall I then bring in it? What should be it's called learning objectives. So the way of thinking then is what do you need to know? For example, to schedule a trainer, what do I need to know? Well, I need to know goods types, I need to know process and steps and so on. So the way is to take the task that you have said we need to support the students with this task and then break it down to plan incoming cargo. What do you need to know? Scheduling trainer and recalculation, and then how to schedule trainer, then you need to know goods types and so on. So these are learning objectives that we're gonna include in the lessons. So I'm gonna present a few more things before, but the main takeaway is here: don't just look at the menu in the manual. That's not the driver. The driver is what is the role, the job, and what are their most critical tasks that they need to know. Go from there and then break it down. So then, of course, you can ask yourself how should you group things into lessons together? And there are a few guidelines, and these are the things that you're probably gonna look up in the ebook later on. So how much should you have in a lesson? Yeah, if you make a video, it should probably be short, like 5 minutes. If you have a web lesson like this, each lesson maybe should be 45 minutes or something, and so on. So what you should do is then how much can I cram into this, and what should I cram in together? Then you should say that things that are related objectives should be together. So in this case, you can see there are things they do in a system called ECC. They perform steps and they navigate that ECC. That's a good idea. I pick that. And I make a lesson out of that. So that's one. They are related, and maybe some of them are common prerequisite things that you need to know. Maybe in your case, the hydraulics. So no, you don't have a hydraulic. So something that is basic for everything to understand. In this case, maybe the ECC is actually the ECC navigation is something that is needed. And then you need to think about duration, and I think you're going to do that later on. And the general thing for online lesson is that the shorter the better, actually. They shouldn't be more than 5 to 10 minutes long if you have a PowerPoint and present it. So normally maximum maybe 10, 15, 20 slides in a lesson. After that, they need to process that, to have questions. So you have lessons, you have thought about lessons. The next step is, okay, what should be the format? And here are more guidelines to think about. As I said, if this is performed often, then it's worth training on. If it's difficult, then we need an instructor to help you to understand it and explain it maybe in multiple ways. And maybe if it's a high learning objectives like problem solving, or it requires physical interaction, then of course, normally you should use the classroom, on the job training or classroom. But if it's done seldom, if it's easy to understand, if it's facts, that kind of material is better suited to be in the manual. Actually, I could search your manual. It's on, I see it's open on the internet. So I mean, I probably assume that you give access to some kind of manual for your customers to search for things easy away. And what should be kept there is the things that are used seldom and are easy and that are facts. And then of course you can outline other kind of media on a line between. So a web lesson still has a lot of instructor support, doesn't it? You can put questions and do things, but of course you can't show things, and you can't have role plays, and you can't have work with the equipment. So it's not as good as classroom. And then on the other side, you can build in performance support, like instructions and things. Maybe not in your product, but if you're using a computer interface, then you can place instructions and help and videos there. And in the middle, you have the online self-study. So that's another thing you need to think a little bit on. And so what you have done right now, we have broken down everything, the task, to smaller parts. We have understood that maybe you don't use it every fine granular, as I say, but you understand that some are better with the teacher, the web lesson, and some are better kept in the manual, and so on. And now you need to understand, how should we group this? What kind of order should we have? What kind of activities? Well, I go back to this curve, how you build the capability to do the performance that a customer needs to do. You build it up in the training and then you forget it, of course, as we said before. But our work right now is to keep it. We need to keep that knowledge. So even if you have a web lesson and they're going to use it 1 month later on, how do you keep that? So our work now is to try to think. And what you're going to do is to think a little bit, how can we make a sequence out of this so they will remember it? So you first have something that has to motivate them. For example, you make some fancy videos that are motivated to upgrade to G6. You make some case studies in articles maybe, and then you have a web lesson, like a first lesson, and then maybe you make them practice on their own. And for this, you have a video showing how to do it. That's the basic knowledge then. In the next phase, you need to help them to move on, to apply things. So maybe you have self-studies on how to configure or do things that you do with that, your equipment. I don't know what that could be. You can have a web lesson to show it and to have interaction together. So you give them maybe tasks to assign. You assign them tasks. Please use your demo product and do this, and come back with the results and discuss. And finally, you need to understand that okay, when they are live at with their customers again, or doing the work, how can you support them in that situation, knowing that they might have forgotten things? Maybe some of the things from the web lessons should be in Teams for short videos they can look for. Maybe you should have a discussion forum so they can discuss hard problems. Maybe you should make a very searchable and good manual so they can search things when they are using the meeting the customer and doing the support, doing the tasks. So this again is all the different things you might include in a lesson. So to process this, I have talked a long time. I would like you to have a short breakout session where you can discuss this, and with the mind in mind of what I've been saying, to say that, okay, can you on top of your mind see, okay, what should we actually put in the web lessons, having instructor support? What should be important to put there? What should be important to have for self-study, like having videos and things? What should be important to have left in the manuals or guides? And what, of course, live exercises is probably doing some of the tasks. Just have that question. And I'm going to arrange groups. I'm going to arrange groups of 3. So before I arrange this group, let's have some questions, because these issues I've been talking about, as I said, they are not the easiest ones, actually. You are 17, so that should be 5. Okay, see, I just need to. You are, some of you are 2 in the rooms, so that's okay. So, but before I start the rooms, are there any questions you would like to bring up right now?
Seems pretty straightforward.
I already threw a comment in the chat. Just the only way to actually get somebody to apply something from what we've seen is they have to have like a pending sale or something that's going to give them some benefit. They rarely ever apply based on theory or concept.
Yeah.
There has to be something in it for them.
Yeah. Yeah, of course, to motivate them. So that's probably an instructional problem then. How can I give a analog that I had? We were making for Ericsson for the 4G. We were making a lot of classroom courses, online courses, and things in a deep level. And service technicians, they didn't take anything. They took like the overall learning. They took the overall self-studies. But until they got the customer, when they got the customer, they were suddenly a lot interested in really do the on-the-job training. There were the labs and classrooms and those kind of deep things. They didn't want to invest the time before they had that. So that's really something for you to think about when you design this training. Is there a level where you can have overview training that gets them interesting and knowing enough, being able to go back to the teams and find things, and then deliver that deep down web lesson when they have sales? And how would you arrange that in time? I see the complexity, so that's something to discuss maybe.
We also have to think about training like the salespeople too. There is that aspect to this too in our production staff about G6 too.
Yeah, the internal training.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I think we're looking at the sales perspective here.
Yeah. That's a timing thing maybe, that you need to time sales before service engineers.
I think you need to do the internal people. Yeah. First, I think, and then that way you kind of work out some of the bugs, and then you can bring that out externally.
It seems like these questions are things you can discuss in the rooms. So I will bring you out in the rooms of approximately 10 minutes. And the questions then is, on the top of your mind, what should you include in the instructor-led training, which are web? What can be self-tutorials and what could be left in the manuals? Like the kind of information, just to get an overview of this, to get thinking started.
One comment, I guess, is that most of us have not even seen a G6, let alone a manual or received any training. So it's going to be fairly theoretical.
So it's a hard thing to do. Maybe you can, because it's the principles we are out for here, not the deep thing. Maybe you can refer to the, was it G2? It's not G5, is it G2?
We have both.
Okay. So I will start the rooms now, and you will just disappear into the rooms, and some of you will be 2 and one room will be 3 persons. So I start it now and hope it works, because you are external guests right now. I hope that works. No, not for, you can see, Valeria, it seems like you didn't get it. Anders and Valeria. Valeria, you didn't get out. No, good. Det var det jag tänkte på. Energi med det.
training. Maybe we left.
Okay, no problem.
Cioè Guido, io non ce la faccio.
So, great to have you back, all.
No, ma io non ho che capito cosa c'è da fare.
Yes.
And yes.
No, cioè, no, io non ce la faccio.
Valeria and Guido, are you in the same place?
Sorry.
Physically on the same place. Seems like. Okay, great. Well, the first breakout room seems it worked. In Teams normally works best with invited guests, and I can see that all of you are now what's called external, and you can see it works anyway. So if you have lessons with your customers, it will work even if they're not guests at your team, actually. So I just want to hear your reflections from, let's take a group, number one. And number one was, if I read, let's see, Kevin, Stefan, and Johan Nordberg. What did you say? Did you have any reflection around this about what can we include in the web lessons, in the self-study, in the manuals? Did you reflect on that we have different things here?
Should I answer, or I think
Johan, you are the best. You can reflect it.
I think focus on the learning, the speak on the courses, general topics, top levels, discussions, benefits, functions, top level informations. Then you can do videos on some other parts that you need to remember and go back to. Maybe on the aftermarket, have you opened the unit? Have you do top level fault troubleshootings and things like that? And on the manual, you have error codes, you have all details and so on. And the PowerPoint is really good to summarize the takeaway on all possible opportunities that you discuss and things like that. So you have a reminder. So you increase what the participants remember 2 days after.
Yeah. Sounds like to me that you're going from overview and often most used things first, and then to things that are more detailed, but are still functions and so on with you, and then the details, the facts on the manual.
Yes.
Yeah. Can I just say that if you have good ideas, if you write them down in the chat, and in the next I didn't tell you before the breakout room, then it will be saved, and we can use this like I can summarize things that you have, smart ideas you have, and we can distribute it later on then.
But actually we have an open question, because this is lots of sales opportunities, and from Germany they want the technical details in German. So that's maybe an open question we need to understand when we're planning the next coming educations. If we're going to have German manuals, maybe Italian or Spanish. So
that's a big question. Yeah, that's another thing you're bringing up now when you're discussing. Maybe you should have issues or questions as well in the chats. That's the way to document it, and I bring it to Martin then.
Yeah.
Good. Let's. That's one number one. Let's take another group. Begin from the other way. Number 7 is the last one. What's only 2 persons? Ryan and Martin. Ryan and Martin. What did you reflect on?
I think Ryan had a really neat idea about self-study and videos to show real machines and real applications using the G6.
Yeah.
To take the students out of this classroom experience and surprise them a little bit with showing how the product actually is used in real life.
Okay, that's good. Application context.
Yeah,
it's a good way to learn, actually.
Yeah.
Maybe for different cases of configuration and so on. Great. Write that down. I was here just. We have so many breakout rooms. I won't go through all the groups. I will show you 2 more slides, and then it's actually a first break. I was talking too much, so there should have been break time right now. But let's move on. let's move on. I'm just summarize. I think I started with the most dull and complex chapter of this learning, but it's the most important actually. It's actually knowing what is the audience and the purpose, and what tasks they do. It's critical. What shall we support? What will we make them do? What will make the salesperson, everybody do? And to do that, what exactly will they need to know? Not to stuff in too much irrelevant things that they can look up in the manual. And then to divide, as you did right now, in the learning activities, and then if you want to, you don't need to, but I uploaded to the team a very simple template where if you want to plan, I know you have different sections, and in your teams you could plan the activities you want to do. I mean with activities, I mean we want a web lesson on this, we want a video on this, we want something else, a guide on this, and so on. And then you can use these templates, and I will show it later on the team, and to start with to describe, and then you can plan who is doing this and who is doing that. So this is the result of this planning thing. Another result, Martin, we haven't talked very much of this because I am just giving the instructional part, but of course you need a project plan for this. And the first thing would be for you to really discuss and think through the needs and objectives of the training, yes. And to really list and describe the activities. And the next big chunk to do is then until mid-April, then probably longer, but then we're going to have a new workshop, is to make the script in PowerPoint, describe things. And you probably will encounter a lot of things. You need images, you haven't seen the product yet, you need to get it explained and everything like that. So that's the next big phase, and from that the little orange square is review. We need to plan reviews for this, of course, and that might be of two kinds, factual and then instructional, of course. And as a last phase there, you also need to make some kind of technical setup. If you're going to record things, you need cameras, webcams. You have webcams, it's up to you if you want to use it. If you want high quality, I will recommend, and I already had in the ebook, HD webcams you can use. You probably might be needing better sound as a separate mic and so on. There are a few things to think about in that sense. And then it starts, the next phase is digitalization of what you've done. It's the recording of things. And I heard you have a video recorder, a person that's gonna make videos out of things to help Martin as well. But you're gonna do something yourself, and that's that part. And that also needs a review. And then you need a phase where you implement everything in Teams and check that everything works. And then it probably the phase of inviting and preparing for the customers to come to the first web lesson, and then we're gonna develop and really fine-tune the web lesson, and then you run the first web lessons, and of course probably have a good sequence of feedback, so you have a feedback loop of learning from that. So this is the plan for everything. Martin, do you want to comment that?
Yes, Anders Eklund, that is our project manager for G6. He's also the project manager for the G6 launch. So me, Maria, and Anders, we have started to do this project plan already. Yeah, not quite this detailed, but it contains all activities, both in the G6 project and the launch and education as well.
Okay, that's great. Okay, good. So I think some of these things will evolve as we work. I mean, we're just starting up now, and you will learn more on the journey, so to say. Let's see if I move on here. It's break time. We haven't had a break, so I think with this first, at least, we take 10 minutes, and there might be shorter later on. My clock is right now 15:25. Oh, that's Swedish time, so it's something 0.25. So we come back at something .35. 10 minutes, have your coffee and move around a little bit and so on. And I will try to talk to Chris during the time, because Chris had a question here. but for rest of you, it's break time.
Okay.
Chris, I want to
Thank you.
check. Okay.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah. Okay, close. I see what you mean.
Yeah,
so
I wanted to switch
you-
to the team just as a reference while I was talking to Luis, and it gave me that error that you can't
Yeah,
switch during
you
the
need
call.
to select. You open your Teams before you open the meeting, and you see to it that you have changed. Up to the right.
Yeah.
If I'm gonna do it like this, I'm gonna show my team. Where is my team? It's here. Up to the right, I have my organization, and you have to do this before you start the meeting because, as your notice told you, it will break the meeting. So, if you want to be in future learning organization, I don't know if it counts right now because breakout room worked. Might be that polls doesn't work, but I have seen that all of the rest are external anyway. So
we can't see
just,
the guides or the any of that stuff, right?
Yeah, we will train on this before we make the last lesson, because then it's really important that your guests are not external. But today doesn't matter. Okay.
Got it.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. I thought I'd point it out.
Okay, great.
All right. I need more coffee.
Yeah. I already had that.
Johan, a short question.
Mm?
Can I attach, vad heter det? Bifoga en bilaga i chatten. Det finns inte att man kan skicka en fil, va?
Jo, men det gör det väl. Jag ska bara se om jag får...
Formatera, jag kan skicka emojis och GIF och...
Ja, min ögonblick bara. Ja. Sådär. Om du trycker på A, då ska vi se. Då får du upp flera options.
Ja, där. Vi ska se.
Men du har inte faktiskt...
Teckenstorlek, indrag.
Nej.
Jag tänkte, jag kunde ju bara kasta in projektplanen där, eller lanseringsplanen. Så att de som inte har sett den kunde få se den, för det är ju ingen hemlighet. Men jag såg att det inte gick att köra.
Ja, det finns en reservväg. Om jag gör så här, jag visar här teamet igen. Om man tittar på rutan så syns ju Teams. Och om man tittar på chatten där så...
Ja, den chatten kan man ju köra i, ja.
Så här så har vi ju fått workshop 1. Man kommer alltid åt bakvägen då. Och här kan du väl ändå... Ska vi se. Det är ju konstigt varför det var... Ursäkta, det är jag som... Nu är jag lite ställd. Det brukar jag kunna gå, men...
Men det där är det inte heller, har inte heller den symbolen, för det har vi ju våran egna interna.
Jag vet, om du går på till exempel teamet så här rakt upp och ner, så här har du ju på posts så har du ju liksom allt möjligt och så. Men av någon anledning kan ju vara att men jag är ju inte extern användare så.
Nej, konstigt. Ja, vi låter det vara, vi tar en kopp kaffe och bensträckare så.
Jo, här du, vänta. Vad händer nu om jag öppnar A1 här och tittar på... Nej.
Ja, men vi kan dela den där projektplanen med dem sen. Det kanske inte lämpar sig i en webblektion, det är kanske självstudier helt enkelt.
Ja, vi kan göra det.
Ja.
Vi kan ju ha ett snack och så gör vi mycket mer om det runt på Q&A, tänker jag. Ja, eller så har ni ett mellanmöte.
Jag kan lägga upp det på teamet sen eller mejla ut den så ser de hur vi har tänkt. Yes.
Okej, det är bra. Ses sen.
Det gör vi.
It would be good if you put on your cameras when you're back with your coffee. I can see you're there.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have a coffee. Me too. Prost. It's getting worse here. See, Marie, you're looking out.
Yeah, I just looked out and I see that we have gone from talking about snow that might come in to a full snowstorm.
Yeah. Yuck.
You're so lucky you have snow.
Well, it melts. It comes and then it melts.
Yeah, and here in Stockholm, it doesn't stay white either. It gets all brown and black and mushy, and it's not very nice.
Yeah. So it's 35 right now. I don't know if everybody's there. I can see most of you are. So I just start the next part. So right now we're gonna move on to the content itself. So you have decided what to develop, and what I'm explaining right now are like full-blown lessons, and then of course you can take parts of that if you make a video or a separate quiz or whatever. But I'm going to talk about a lesson like. So the concept here is that in you have a web lesson or you're making a full-blown lesson as a self-study with every part like. So and the first thing we need to do in that is an introduction. I'm going to talk about that, and there are two parts we're going to talk about. It's to set the learning objectives, the expectation of what they're going to learn, and to motivate the learners. So there are two parts of that. So developing content generally, we are here in the workflow now. It's to set a lesson structure of some kind and to introduce students and to have activities with these tools we have, visualize with the tools we have, and to prepare students for applying this in their real life. So these are the parts we're going to go through. Let's move on. So, and what are we actually developing right now? What's my context for this talking? Well, it's the web lesson you're going to hold. That's one part. And that's very much what I'm doing right now. But then I want to explain a little bit more. What is self-study content in this aspect as we are talking right now? Well, it's something that you use Teams for, and it is creating this course structure within the frames of Teams. We can actually use Teams for making lessons or sub-chapters, and you can use tabs to make activities. And we can include a lot of media, for example, video of different things in different ways. So that's self-study content, and we can include a lot of activities. And one of the things we're going to use a lot is Microsoft Forms for making quizzes of different kinds. And there could, of course, be other activities like discussions and things in that. So that's what I mean with self-study content right now. That's the limitation. It could have been e-learning or something else, then we would have been able to do much more. Yeah, here are discussions, yeah. So the first thing then, when we make self-study content, is that you're going to make some kind of lesson structure. And I think normally you have a clear mind of that you have some topics you want to talk about, supporting this task to do. But what a structure is that we also have an introduction, that we prepare people for the learning. And that's a kind of introduction, where we have a motivational part, and we set the learning objectives, the expectation on what to learn, and we give an overview before we go into the topics from the top level, and maybe also talk about some concepts that they need to understand to grasp the topic. Sorry, I just need to drink a little bit. So, and then after the topics, we're not done just telling everybody what to do. We need to prepare them to apply this. And there are a few normal steps that we know have done. We have to summarize what we've done and highlight the important things again. We're gonna make them, evaluate them. It could be two ways, either for themselves, like formative assessment. So they make a quiz or something that really tests them for their own sake, Have I understand the most important things? Are there more things I need to know? Or it could be really assessing them like a test. If you certify them, so I have understood you're not doing that. And then it's the last part. It's helping them to apply things. So what should they do in real life? Giving them checklists and handouts and things. So this is the structure. So let's talk about the first part. And the few things here are how to motivate them, what's in it for me, create expectation with learning objectives, and giving context. So the first thing is, if you place e-learning or self-study content on the internet, will it be completed? Will it be done? What's your opinion on that? What's your experience? If you have encountered e-learning or self-study material, will it be performed?
My guess would be highly unlikely. Unless somebody's motivated to do so, I guess.
Yeah. You say it will not. Yeah.
I'd guess maybe 20%, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good guess.
There you go.
They're actually, like you say, that it's there is a completion rate is what, 5 to 15% or something, if just placed there voluntarily. And you know, this massive open online courses, you can go to like Stanford or MIT and take courses. The completion rate is 4% on those. So we need to do a lot of things to motivate and keep them motivated through the course. It will not be done by itself. Great. Let's see, I have something in the chat, but that's not for me. Marie, Chris, I think it's coming.
It was based on something you said.
Yeah, it's about certification. Yeah, of course, there are many ways to make motivation, of course, and that could be external ones like certifications as well. So let's see a little bit about that. So the first thing you need to do is then, of course, to motivate your attendees to why they should listen on this. And then there are a few things to understand from adult learners. They really need relevancy. So they need to see how this is good for their work, their specific. You need to, that's another good way. Probably you know your audience, but if you don't understand what motivates them, it's important. So they are practical. This need to be practical information that can be used in their work, not too much theoretical or background things. And they're also self-directed. So, I mean, if a young student in school can go step by step, an adult want to jump. They want to select for themselves what to learn and not to learn. I was in the beginning of e-learning, you had these screens that you have to take one screen after another. And if you missed a question, you have to jump back. Everyone hated them because adult learners want flexibility. We want to select what to learn. And another good thing also is that we have a lot of life experience, and that's something we should be building on. I'm going to talk about memory a little bit later on. So to using and really engaging their long-term memory, what they knew about your products from before, that is really something we can use in our training. So what could examples be? This is an old example from a thing we did for a hospital. It's an example that really shows the importance of sending lab tests immediately when a patient comes in, and to get correct back, because otherwise ugly things can happen. And this story talks about that in a very short fashion way. So find a war story that is really relevant to them initially on why this is important, and that really shows the benefits of learning these tasks or whatever thing that you have. And the easiest thing is if you have in your mind examples of using this. For example, as someone talked about, videos using your product in real life applications is probably build on that is probably a good thing. Another thing is war stories, like when things got wrong or got good, that you can really dramatize. So it should be short and sweet, less than a minute. And the more you can visualize it with an image, it's enough with a photo, But if you can make it a little bit drama with a little bit of emotion and edgy things happening, it will be a better example. Here's another thing we made from Ericsson, and a boring content, but we made it interesting because for these service engineers, so I think they might have been solution architects, they could really trim or really get up the speed on the broadband with these techniques that he was talking about, this guy, this R&D guy. So you can get it up from 14 to 168 megabit per second. So that was like selling them to learn about this. So start with that. But then again, I mean, that's the start. Maybe we have 2 hours of web lessons. How do we keep up motivation in a long training? What do you think? Please, if you think, everybody, and write down some examples in the chat, and I will read it out. How do we keep up motivation? Be interactive. You need, yes. We need activity all the time. You need to engage in challenging things. That's Chris mentioning that. And Kevin, being constantly reminded of the goal. Yes, you have to go up. Like you want to be on the top, explain the goal and go to details, and then go to top again and down again. That's training adults. Paul set a goal. Yes, you need a goal. You need to really have, what will I be able to do after this lesson that is good to me and that I couldn't do before? And Marie, bring in the unexpected. Yeah, challenging, arousing, and so on. There are a lot of things. There's actually a model, and there's a lot of things in this. Maybe I should go. So one thing is, once in a while, to bring in attention. That could be, for example, a challenge. Instead of just presenting facts and then have a question, do the opposite. Start with a question and make it a little bit hard. And then, because people often can guess things because they have previous knowledge, and then you explain things. Make a variation of examples and so on. Be relevant. Try to find scenarios where you use these functionalities, as much context as possible. And being relevant is also to allowing the students to pick and select what to learn, and that is that you have good titles. So having good titles in your lesson so they can jump between different things is also something that adds to relevance. We need to help confidence. It could either be too easy or too hard, and our explanation of the level is our expectations we set with the learning objectives. I'm going to come to that. Then the students understands what level this is on. And then we should also have like growth. We should start with a simple and then add on complexity during the journey. And then again, motivation comes from satisfaction to actually have done a bit of complex problems and made achievement, and we have a test or in practice, and we give feedback on that, so you get some kind of success or reward. So there are several ways to think about. For now, I just say that think about starting with motivation and then trying to keep it during the lesson. Learning objectives, that the purpose of them is to really work as this expectation so that they know what this is about. What is the level? Is it to be able to list in overview the features of this G6, or what is it? Is it to dwell into the details and so on? And it should always be action oriented. It shouldn't be like having a general understanding of it. It should be able to do something or to demonstrate something. So we talk about action verbs: list, order, explain, configure, whatever you do with your equipment. And you should think about a learning objective that is something that they actually can do, that should actually be measurable. You can observe them doing it, or you can measure it in a test. Now you have a customer relationship, so maybe you don't test them that way, but internally, and if you were doing a certification, you might have learning objectives that you actually could test to really certify that they can do it and so on. Then it's much harder if you do it that way. So in this an example, this doctor, if they look at X-rays, maybe you can be very specific. They should correctly identify. So the keyword here is identify a tumor. And then, of course, you could have some kind of condition 9 out of 10 times. Normally, and we will only work with the first part. What are you able to do? Identify, because that will guide what you select later on. So that's a learning objective. And just a few examples. You remember my example, the logistic system. On the lowest level, we had like goods types and things. I mean, that's a list, goods types, order them, or maybe select the steps in a routine. That's typical action verbs. On a higher level, we need to understand something, and instead of using the word understanding or so on, we can be more specific. Explain what if that and that happens. Explain the consequences of, and then some kind of condition. So be more specific. And on a top level, it's always like the top level of the course is to apply, to do something, to perform, to configure, to register, or what it can be. So the thing is that we should avoid weak learning objectives that are not specific, like you should have knowledge about. So how can you test? How do you know if someone has knowledge about or understanding of? What does it mean to have understanding of? It should be more specific. You should be able to explain what happens if that and that occurs in a system. That's more of an understanding objective. And knowledge about is more like you should be able to describe a list, the components. You should be able to describe the features and so on. So that's learning objectives. So let's try this out. And this time I will actually, I think you can be able, if I go out of this, I think you can record the OCR anyway. And I will paste a link if you didn't have your mobile, so you can, oops, that got big. Now there's a big link here. You can click on that link as well. And here's a question then. Which of these below are well-written learning objectives, meaning they are specific? They are something the student do, and they could actually be measured or observed. Now I'm gonna find this objectives form and see what you say. It's there. So well written are, you're still doing it. I won't say anything more. Yeah, it seems like the ones having done this, having a grasp of it, being specific. You're all answering, able to register, able to execute the trace, and then finally able to list and describe. But having basic knowledge of is not specific enough. And I would say know about the basic. Know about is not specific and measurable. And have an overview understanding is not specific. So I think you get the meaning. Try to be as specific as possible. That would help you later on. Okay, let's start it again. And let's process this a little bit for yourself. Martin, I'm introducing questions related to the G6, and I'm understanding that now that the participants haven't seen the product very much.
Yeah, we have had some very basic online training, so they know the basics, but not the platform in depth.
means that this task is maybe a little bit premature, but I think you could, if you relate to earlier products, you could probably just try to describe typical questions. I mean, I have been working with technical things. That would be describe components, list connections, what are the steps in the routines, explain the functions, explain what happens if, and so on. Maybe if you just try if you try to relate to the G2 or G5, or if you have a glimpse of the G6, and try to discuss this in 10 minutes. And I think 10 minutes is a lot of time, so I will shorten this to a little bit less, 7 or 8 minutes, something.
Doesn't it depend dramatically on who our audience is, though?
Absolutely. I'm just the purpose of this practice is for you to try to what are typical learning objectives. It's not like doing the work. Doing the work would be that you have the roles. But couldn't you make a scenario then and say for sales, you typically should have these kind of learning objectives, and for service engineers, we would need these kind of objectives. So the purpose is just for you to discuss this a little bit, what you heard, and try to explain. And then later on, when you had read the material and you're done your pre-work, you probably do the exact learning objectives. Okay, was that okay? Yeah, I see a thumbs up. It means that I will start the breakout rooms right now, and I will keep the same rooms for this. And I hope you get to the rooms now.
No.
So it's a bit abruptly when you're brought out here. If using Zoom, you will be counted down, but this just...
It gives you some warning. That's about it.
Excuse me?
I said it gives you a 1 minute warning.
Yeah, it does. That was me. That's I'm doing that manually.
Okay. And also 10 seconds.
10 seconds it is. Yeah, it does. So,
Yeah.
but it's something we will to reflect on this. That as a teacher using Teams instead of Zoom, you need to give information. You can send out broadcast information to the rooms. So that's a good idea to do. So let's hear. As I said, we were a bit because we haven't worked yet, but you have to think a bit theoretically, just thinking about learning objectives. And look at room 2. And room 2 was Luis Miguel and Chris. What did you find? What could be typical learning objectives for the G6 course?
I put some in the chat. It actually shows up in a different chat window.
Yeah, it is. I can show that if you want to bring it up.
Yeah, it's fine. I just didn't define very specific learning objectives, but basically successfully configure a product in the online configurator.
Yeah.
For sales guys, they would provide a quote and lead time for G6.
Yeah.
Maybe understanding the differences between G2 and G6 for people who are familiar with the product.
Yeah.
And then Luis had an idea of preparing a pre-training questionnaire so we can understand our audience and deliver the right content.
Yeah, that's good. Very good that you wrote it down because I actually have it here on the screen. I can share it before I start later on then. But that's the idea. The thinking is right, and you have different kind for different roles then because they're gonna do different things.
Yeah,
let's see if you want.
I have to say that usually it's quite often, especially when you go to a quite big company, that they understand that someone from Scanreco is going to come or is going to run a training. It's okay, but then you can invite a lot of people because there will be a training. So please join the training, and then you have a sales guy, then you have a purchase guy, then you have a technical guy, then you have the logistics guys, and you can talk about something that the other ones didn't understand, and the other way around. So I think it's quite important to define who is attending, what they do, because that will limit or that will drive the whole training.
Yeah, maybe it's important when you declare the training before, and also maybe sometimes you describe prerequisite knowledge you should have to take the training and so on. So that's also important to have. To be targeted on the training. Good information. Yeah, that's what happens if you don't have learning objectives. But room 6. Did I take you before? Lawrence and Marie? No, I didn't. No. Lawrence and Marie. Sorry. What did you find?
Well, first of all, there is a lot of there is a lack of knowledge right now among all of us, I think. But we were talking about the knowing the limitations and possibilities with the G6 as opposed to G2 and the other generations.
Yeah. Yeah, explaining those differences. Yeah, that could be one. Okay. Yeah. You will be doing this later on, but now you have heard a little bit about learning objectives. And if you want to look at what Chris and Luis Miguel wrote, I can just share my screen, and you can see that it's a good idea to write it down because we will have it then. So we will have everything that you write in your rooms will come up in the chat, and you will see us as well later on, so we can share that if you have good ideas. But right now I wanted to move on a little bit, move on to the topics, and again there's a little bit of structure, the thing we order things we're going to talk about, but we are mostly going to talk about how we can make the lesson active and the base things on the behavior and activity, and also how you visualize content, and using we're going to use PowerPoint for that or videos. So we're going to talk about that. So we are now in the mid part where we talk about, we have all our topics that lead up to the learning objectives, and I've seen so many courses and in so many places, and the normal setup is this: someone explains a lot of content on bulleted text often, and then there's a quiz in the middle, and maybe there's for me to asking that question is maybe obvious. Is this an effective setup? You might smile if you think it's not. What should we do instead?
I think a little bit what we are planning to do. Small courses try to be interactive.
Yeah.
Discuss with the participants, not just inform them.
Yeah. Just reading all these things, will that make them well perform the tasks in a good way? Probably not. So let's go forward then a little bit. This is a very old from the 60s, and I think it's not correct on the percentages, but the general idea of is how much do you remember? If you read something, it says you remember 10%. If you hear 20% and so on. And then if you see something happening, maybe an animation of on a schema, and then hear it explained, then it's 50% remembered. But most is if you do things yourself and start with that. And I mean, a lot of instructional theories come from that. Project-based learning is very, well, it's used very much now. Many companies reskill people to work with coding and so on. In coding academies, they use project-based. You have a task, a project, and that is the challenge that you work with. And you only get that. You don't get a lesson, you get the challenge. And from that, you have to research the information yourself. So like doing things is the key here. And remember that what you don't do will be forgotten quickly, according to Ebbinghauser. So I'm wondering if I'm bringing in an extra step here of instructional design, but I just want to show some concepts. And I don't say you need to work with this, but this is a good idea to start with the objective. What is the objective of this lesson? It might be to get the salespersons to sell in a new way and sell the benefits and so on. And then you need to understand, what shall they do then? Maybe it is to put questions to the customer's situation, configuring situation. And for that, we shall then make realistic practices. I'm going to show an example soon. And only then, when you have done this, you start with the goal and then come to the practices. Only then you start to define, okay, what is all the content I shall write about this? Because the normal is the opposite. You're an expert and you know a lot and you want the rest of the world to know the same things. So you talk about everything you know, and that's a normal lesson. But to turn it around, we are interested of the objective. What are they to be able to do afterward? What are the critical behaviors? And then we put in the information. So let me give just a short example to explain this thinking. So this is an example from, we were helping a school, actually, a school for adults, where they were working with chefs in the restaurants and so on. And they had to handle raw material according to the law and some regulations. That was the objective, that they could do this. And to do this, we understood that, okay, when you get different meat and so on, you have to store. It shows the right storage method to maximize sustainability, that it's preserved in the right way. So that's the behavior, show storage method. So when knowing that behavior, then of course you can make a practice doing this. So the practice in this case is, this is a simple drag and drop, and you can do it in many ways. In this case, it's from a retail store. You drag and drop. You get first you get milk, and then you get meat, and then you get fish, and you have to drag and drop them into the different storage places. So that's the main practice to do, because that's what you probably do when you get food coming in. You store it in different parts, and just after this, you make the presentation, which is explaining the conditions were different kind of I don't know if the name is raw material. My English is too bad for this. Well, meat and things where they should be stored. Instead of doing the opposite, you start by thinking about what is the objective. So my only thing for you to remember is turn it around. Start with the objective and break it down. So when you do that, you think about the learning objective. They should be able to do this, and then you find a lot of exercises and activities. And then, of course, you have to get everything together in a lesson. How do you do that? So you start with all your examples and things. You have here a scenario question. You have an animation. You have a panel that you should try yourself. Maybe you have an image where there are security problems and they should click on it. So you have a lot of practices in this, but you want to fit it together to a flow, to a lesson. So what you need to do then is to make a sequence. And I myself, that's only I myself, I start to make that in the outline in our Outlook, in PowerPoint. Since we're going to use PowerPoint, I start with objective, I break down activities, and then I start to draft a flow in the outline. And when doing this, I try to find that, in some cases you need a challenge. So you put the exercise first and then the content. In other cases, maybe you need to present the content first to be able to make the exercise. So you make this draft content. And then you can think about the order, and that's maybe obvious that you go from the easy to the difficult, from the well-known. Maybe you can start with analogs from G2 and then go over to G6. That's one way to go. Someone explained that you should all do the overview first for adults and then break it down to details, further details all the way. That's another way. Then you probably have a process in some cases, or it's a routine, then it's chronological. So you have these kind of guidelines to follow the sequence. When you do this, several parts can communicate. As I said, it's for an adult, they want to evaluate what's in the lesson. And if you have good titles in the lesson, they will be able to evaluate if this is valuable for them. So writing good titles is a good idea. And what to think about then is to have whole sentences. It's really like as a news flash, explaining the concept you're explaining on this slide. In this slide, I'm trying to explain learning objectives. So maybe I should make it more interesting. Defining learning objectives, but it's still a full meaning, and it's an active format, something they should do. You should always talk to the student what they should be able to do. So this is making then the sequence of activities. Now I have a short one, and just before I'm gonna show you the activities we can do right now, but I wanted you to think a little bit yourself. What kind of exercise could we include in the G6 training? If you think of your practice, just a brainstorm, 5-minute brainstorm, and this time brainstorm in your group and try to write down your ideas in the chat. What kind of exercises can we? Just don't limit yourself, but just think about what are the kind of exercises we could have in this training. And I'm just gonna have this for 5 minutes then. Okay, before I do that, any questions on this? Then I click on start and the room starts right now. Take some time. Well, that clock is 16:17. Back again. Welcome.
Back again.
I hope I didn't destroy your creativity there. I can see it sparking when I was trying to close, but you will get a lot of time for that later on. But that's just to get you starting. Can I hear room 3? Did you have any good examples of possible exercises to use?
We discussed that it's important to break it down to maybe smaller exercises, but we had some examples where create a custom overlay for a system. Other basic exercises just to create accounts and create logins for the different online services. We have a portal where you can configure your systems and so on. So that can be exercise as well, basic exercises to get you started just.
Yeah.
And
so you instruct them and then they do it in real life.
Yeah. Just basic exercises just to get started, to get the logins working and set up some basic functionality.
That's
in
really
the
good.
G6 system. Yeah.
So and portal things are actually possible to embed into Teams if you want to. So that's a good idea. Yeah. Okay. That should be room 5 as well. Do you have any examples too?
Okay, no, really, we discussed kind of the same theme, the doing simple, basic practices on the configurator and the portal and so on, but also discussing some that it depends on the audience, because that is directed towards people that doing designs, and you have a sales audience. Well, you need to do other things. What that should be, it's a bit further away from me since I'm not a salesperson. But this part also, is really important to be adapted to the audience you got.
Yeah. Maybe you have, I heard someone talking about sales, so you have in your team a distribution of different backgrounds, so you can know what kind of exercises a salesperson need.
Yeah.
Explaining benefits and things. Good, great. Just going to show you that again, that you can go to the groups and just see what other person writes if you want to, and find things.
We can only see our own group.
You can only see your own group? Okay.
At least for me. Yeah, I only see room 2.
If you go to chat, you only see room 2. Okay. So let's, I'll write this down though. Otherwise we have to, well, we can extract it, of course. Okay, great. So let's move on then. So this is good. These are what you would like to do. And then of course there are things that are limited in like the tools we do, or you will need to use your fantasy to really do it. But again, if you talk about online learning, as I talked about before, we need to split it up. We can't talk a long time. And actually, best practice is to have some kind of interaction every second and third minute. And I can see when you get lazy, you think you need to talk about all these things, and then you have an interactivity. But when I talk too long time, I can see on your faces that I have talked too long time, really. So it shows, and that's why I need the video of you all the time. So, but again, what we need to do is then to have much more activity on online learning. It's actually, before there was a study that said that 80% of students are multitasking. That's what 10 years ago I had that, and I had that in my trainings. But nowadays, with all this video, I would say that you are not multitasking. I can't see any one of you multitasking actually. So I think there are less, but you should know that there is a risk of doing other things, and the attention walks away. So you need to involve people every second, third minutes in something, in an activity, and that could be different things. Like this is just you can maybe. Some kind you want to bring attention to something, and then you put up a question that is kind of a challenge of some kind. Well, they have to think after, they can't really, or maybe you ask a person that have been inactive to really say something or write in the chat. And it could also to really, you can put a question to put up existing knowledge like about the G2, because then you're going to talk about something that is similar or different in the G6. So that's one kind of a question you put initially. And during the training, you will, if you have a lot of facts, you will be inactive, and then you can again put more focus. You can put a question when you see participants are zooming out. It's time for an interaction of some kind. And I actually there's a game. We're going to try that when we in the last session that's called Kahoot. That's a kind of game you can make to put the when you see that the mood is getting down, you can put that on. And I didn't have that today, so I'm going to be very theoretical and so on today. So but then you can put up a game or a challenge to get the focus back again. So that's another way. Then of course, when you are talked about something that is maybe complex, a function or a scenario of some kind, then you can put questions that make people reflect and discuss. You can do that in the chat, but maybe even better, you have a breakout room to reflect together with someone else. How do you use this in your practice? What should we think about? A bit harder questions. And then, of course, finally, you can use activities at the end to help people to, as you have done a lot of exercises, to apply. How do we apply this on the portal? Maybe to test that they really have it, or to give it to themselves to really test themselves. So there are many examples of where we can put exercises during a lesson. And then we need to make well-written questions as well. I hope you can see the text here. It was in Swedish from the beginning, but I put some text over it. So it says like this. Why be aware of fire protection on your working place? The first is to ensure the safety of visitors, patients, and myself. And then I wonder, and then since we are so many employed, what about that question? Anyone that want to volunteer to give some criticism? What might be wrong with it? It's too obvious, or yeah, maybe. Paul, what do you say?
It's kind of over the top. It's just like, I look at that and like, you're asking about fire protection in the workplace, and then it shows a smoldering fire. Maybe show what exactly, what you need for fire protection in the workplace.
Yeah. So one question is it easy to understand the right answer? Yeah. I mean, this alternative, I wonder, since we're so many employed, I mean, they are not plausible alternatives at all. But even the first one is not well written. So we need to think a little bit about this. And some things we need to use is that when you write text questions of different kinds, try to use the verbs in the learning objectives. There you have it. List. Maybe you can list the things. You can order things. In some cases, maybe a mark on a picture, important components. Or if you have a free text, you can let them explain something and so on. So use that verbs in the question, list, order, point, and so on. And it's important that all alternatives you need to be imaginative to have plausible alternatives to get them think a little bit. And then someone says the best practice is to have 4 similar alternatives. I used to have 3 to 4 similar alternatives on this. And then, of course, again, just asking about the initial thing is you talk about a lot of facts, and then you ask about facts. I mean, people forget it anyway. Use the questions to make people process things. Have more questions on the understanding level. Why is that component designed in this way? Like, to make them process what they've heard. So higher level questions like scenarios and why and so on, explain things, rather than just asking after where is that component, how high should the voltage be, and so on. These are facts. This is in Swedish again, and I'm just saying that it's talked about that lighting the candles and then leaving, and other comes, and there's an alternative. What should you do when you leave yourself? You should, and one alternative is you should leave it burning since someone else can do it, or you should lit it out yourself, and so on. And it doesn't just say wrong or right. You can use, in many cases, and in forms as we're going to use, and you can use feedback to make people reflect again when they answer wrong or right. So in this case, it says this was the wrong answer because the one that lights are responsible for it, blah, 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 and so on. So you can really use the feedback to reinforce both wrong things and to explain why it's wrong, or right, to explain this is right because, and then you add more information. You could also, when they have wrong, if you do a complex question, maybe give a clue and make them try again, and so on. So questions can be a part of a learning process. So you can and you should then give unique feedback to each alternative, and we're going to see how that can look later on. So feedback is good. And then a question, what can we use here? I hope this is very small. I hope it's not too small. We're going to use the built-in tools in Microsoft 365, so we are not buying anything. If you think you need more, there are alternatives, so-called authoring tools that will allow much more question types, but we're going to use what's there. And it's pretty good, actually. So we can use single or multiple choice questions. Actually, we can. If you put a question, a multiple choice question can be a scenario. You can add a video of showing something happening, you can explain it, and then you can ask them to what is the best alternative to do in this situation. That could be a scenario question. There are texts, and actually you can ask them to put an answer and have a correct answer in text. So the small text here, what is the programming interface of G5M19? And then they have to answer freely, and then you can have several correct answers if they misspell and so on, but I only have one correct answer, RS232 should be the interface, maybe a fact question, but just to demonstrate. So you can do free text questions. Another kind of things you can do and use, and this is the next lesson we're going to do that, the end of April lesson. Is an ordering question. Maybe you have a process you want to order. In this case, I have a question, from what type of activities do we remember the most? And then you can drag and drop the different alternatives and maybe say, I think they are scrambled here, as you see, and then you have to drag and drop doing at the top, and then saying next, and then probably listening third, and then reading. So these could be used for processes and routines. And then again, a last kind of question you can use. I see now that I should have run these live for you. I'm sorry for that. It's very small, so I have to describe it. You will all be back to this, as I say, and then we will see it in live, and you will work with this. But that's the next workshop. So another one is you can describe something with pictures or with videos. And in this case, I have a text and a picture. I say, use your mobile to look at the instructional video to the right, and then unscrew this unit and take a photo of the result and upload here. So like you can really embed doing things in real life and bringing back the results. And of course, on this question, you as an instructor have to make the feedback. Is this right or wrong? What they're doing, but you can actually embed real life things. So these are things we're going to talk about next time. Today I can show you a few things what you can do in a web lesson. There are other activities that you have tried a few of them, and let's think a little bit about them. They are chat, they are poll question. We can share things. We have a whiteboard. We're going to try that, and we have breakout rooms. So how can we use a chat? In the chat, how can we use the chat for learning? If you write that in the chat, think a little bit. How can we use the chat for learning? Good ideas. Well, Chris, answer question, of course. Brainstorming, yes. Answer question, that's a good point. The chat is very easy to, you can put question as I'm doing, and it's easy to answer, and you can have it both if I have put a question like this, but also maybe to get the focus. Are you following this? And you can answer in the chat, for example. Stefan, send the information. I probably mean sharing information, I assume. That you ask a question, what's your experience, and you share that. Fabio, feedback. The student can give feedback on yourself. That's good. There are several. I didn't have that in this lesson, but in the web lesson, I will have a lot of you giving me feedback, because there's several tools you can use. I can, for example, have these marks, giving the heart, and so on for that. Send files. We did have problem right now, but since you're not even guests with sending files, you need to be, I think you need to be guest to do that. Ask for a specific. There are many things, of course, but the thing is that these kind of questions require jokes. Yeah, that's good. These questions require brief answers. I mean, if you wanna expand a little bit, you have to give them the mic to talk or have a breakout room. But for brief, and especially share short experiences is very good. And if you want everybody to see it, because in breakout rooms there are smaller groups, and it's harder to share that experience. Yes, and you can also, from you, to ask questions to me. You have done that, I can see that. Here's another thing, and you have used the polls. What you have been using right now has been the polls from Microsoft Forms, and I have used it using the mobile. But there is a functionality. I didn't dare to do it, actually, since I saw that most of you were external. I'm not sure it works for externals, but you can make polls within a web lesson. So let me do that to see if it works for you. In 1 sec, I'm gonna start a poll internally and see if you can see it. I see when it comes. Now it's up for me. I hope it's up for you. It says, how can questions be used? And you can use one or several alternatives. I will answer them. It seems like you're occupied, so it did come up for you. It did work. So let's submit. I submit my, and I'm actually gonna show, if you can't see, I'm not sure you can see the end result, so I'm gonna do it like this. As an instructor, at least, it should be that you also can see the result. Can I ask someone, Martin, for example, can you, when you're done, can you see the results?
Yes, I could.
Good, great. So it seems like we have a pretty even distribution of answers after 14 votes. So, so this is something you can use to get opinions and other things, and create attention. And all of these alternatives are, of course, valid, and probably more alternatives. Encourage reflection, create attention, clarify opinions, and so on. So I'm not gonna tell you how to do this time, just that it works. You can use it, so you can use during web lessons as well. And here's another thing you can use, and probably that can be useful for you. If this works now with externals, you will actually be able to draw on images and use the whiteboard. And I'm gonna skip sharing the slide and go over to the whiteboard instead, and I hope it will open up for you. Let's see, like this. Whiteboard. Should be loading. I hope it loads now for you. Could you nod if it's loading? Yeah, okay. Be careful, because if you great, that's using reactions, emotions. Click on a pen before you do anything else. Otherwise, you remove the camera. That's something you need to instruct them. But click on that, and I'm gonna use a red pen. And where do you set the shutter speed? Is it? I'm stupid, so I'm saying here. If you draw, select a pen and draw. Sorry, I saw a chat here, but I can't read it right now. I'm looking at my whiteboard. So we have 3 persons drawing. Any more?
I cannot find the option. How do I do that?
It's because you're not a member. I just put an image in the chat as well. It basically says that for now, only members of this org can participate.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. That's actually true. Sorry, I forgot that right now. I sent out an email, so you're actually all invited member to Future Learning Organization. But if you have looked at the guide, and I didn't remind you before, because you have to set teams to Future Learning Organization before moving into this meeting. If you do this, you will be a guest. So, but this is temporarily, and we're gonna follow this because Microsoft is extending this right to anonymous external guests as well, and that's in the roadmap during the autumn. So like this, of course, this is important to be able to use this functionality. We need to be sure that it can be used for anonymous guests, because I think it will be troublesome for you to get your customers to be guests. They will probably just log on as you did, and then you get external. But this is one way that you can use. This is functionality within Teams that you can use. So just showing you right now, and let's see, stop presenting and start my slides instead. It's there. So that's a few things, and then we have a final thing we have, and you've been using that. It's the breakout room, and the question is, what are good ideas to use the breakout room in training? How can you use that? If you use 5 minutes, and after that we're gonna have a break, but 5 minutes, the last 5 minutes before the break, just discuss how are good ways to use the breakout rooms for training. And I'm gonna dismiss you into the groups right now. So any question before? And I start the rooms right now. It's opening, takes some time. No, you didn't. Chris didn't get out. Let's see. I think I can assign you anyway.
I actually changed to future learners.
That's why.
Second to come back.
Do you remember?
So, 2.
2. Okay, I assign you to room 2 then.
It was Luis.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, he's alone there now.
Yep.
Did you get any information on that? So you're back. Great. Before we take a break then, maybe room 4. Did you have a good, that's Paul and Guido. What would you say about what's the purpose of how can we use breakout rooms in training? What do you say?
Paul's all right. Yes.
Yeah.
Paul wrote something about this.
Yeah, it's a good way to allow the separate groups to problem solve. And a good way, and groups are good for a smaller group might have more engagement than a larger one. I mean, we can't really, this large group, we can't really go back and forth between ideas. You have too many people speaking. And then groups are a good way to pair people. You might take somebody from sales and pair somebody with engineering, and you might hear different perspectives.
Yeah, that's
to one problem.
Cross-functional, yeah. Good. Remember about the size. Of course, if you have short groups, like now 5 minutes, then shouldn't be more than 2 or 3 persons. As soon as you get up to 4, then you need more time for it. That's one thing. But then it can be like that you're unsure that some of the people know a lot about this issue, some are very new. Then it could be good to group larger groups, like 4 or 5, so you know that there are some that can drive the group. And not 2 persons, not to knowing things. Someone is having a lot of noise in the room. So if you have a lot of noise, could you please mute in that case? Great. Let's see. Let's move on. I think I move on. We're gonna have a break. But first, I just want to say, yeah, as you said, solve problem, discuss, share experiences, and often it's a good way to start. Initially to get to know each other. And then there are more things to do, and we will see us coming. We're gonna make the Kahoot game, for example, in the last time. That's one more thing you can do. There are games you can try on equipment, make presentations, download. We can download instructions for practices from Teams. It doesn't need to have to be in the web lesson or in the video or so on. We can download instructions for that. Scavenger hunt is like you ask for things. If you want people to understand the manual or the portal or whatever, then you can use a scavenger hunt where they're supposed to find the information on the portal. So they have to go there and find a lot of information and go back and to the quiz where you have the right or wrong answer. That's one thing to do. Solve problems, of course. So these are a lot of other activities, and we will also add your actual activities that you have talked about. But I'm going to move over to visualization right now, but I think we all need a break. I've been talking slower and a lot of time has gone, so you need a break. 5 minutes from now, exercise, take your coffee or whatever. See you then. And I will be here if someone has a question. No, okay. Ja, Marie, det blev värre och värre nu. Det går inte att se ut längre.
Ja, min ena son kom hem. Han hade träning. Han sa att han blåste omkull när han gick där ute.
Oj.
En 11-åring.
That's bad.
Mm.
Yeah, that's a storm. So yeah, put on your video when you're back so I can see you. Let's see if we have any questions. I don't know. Yeah, you were discussing the whiteboard, yeah. Actually, it slipped my mind now. I was just presuming you were guests, but it didn't remind you well enough. All right, you're all back. 1 hour left. And we're going to talk about visualization. And this is one of my best slides ever, or I haven't done it, but someone else. Isn't it good? Or do you think something else? Anyone has an opinion? You can just turn on your mic and spit it out.
It's a 1990s program going on there?
Yeah, it is. It's Centra. It's really... It was
old school.
Anyone used it? Yeah. But the slide then? What do you think about that?
A lot of text.
A lot of text, yeah. Yeah, of course. It's too busy. And but have you seen that? Anyone using that? No? You haven't seen it on a training? It's pretty well used, I would say. And well, the thing is, the main thing is about memory is the limited, because I was just skipping. I had a section about memory, and we don't have the time for it, so I will record it and place it on the team instead. That's just 10 or 15 minutes of that. Broke it out. But the thing is that our working memory is pretty limited, and even more limited actually when we have a technical environment like this. You need to see notifications coming up, chats and everything, and the videos, and then you're going to understand the slide as well, and maybe you don't hear well enough. So it needs to be very clear, even more clear than in a classroom, and so the brain won't be able to listen what you say and then read at the same time. So use images, that's the thing, and try to depict a context, a situation, a location, or a process really, and use that as much as possible. And if possible, simplify and clear out, and use only words. I mean, some kind of special technical training, you will need to use words because you have a lot of concepts like hooks to hang up the information on. So, but use them only keywords. So, what about this one then? It's okay. You have understood it, grasped it already? Oh, it's a little bit busy as well. So there are a lot of things we can do with this. So when we talk about showing processes or functions and things, we need to understand that I skipped in the memory. We talk about irrelevant load. What are we loading the working memory? Irrelevant load are lines, shadows, funny animations, too many colors, fonts and things. That will clutter and that will limit what we remember and how fast we can process this. So we need to avoid everything that is meaningless. Another thing that is important is that, I mean, we're talking pretty quick here, and if I want to follow, because the visualization also tells me something, I need to guide attention. So something we need to do is to use animations to guide what are we talking right now. So I was highlighting this yellow thing then, and if it's a complex picture that this could be, and we're talking about something, we could also. Oh, sorry. Okay, wrong order. First, if you have text on this, the closer the text is to the actual object, the better it is for remembering. This is called cognitive load theory, all these principles, and they will be in that session I have about memory. But if you have a complex picture, also try to build stepwise as much as you can. So while you're talking, you are bringing up the things you're talking about. That will also help easing up when you talk on web lessons, and even more maybe on videos, because maybe you're going to do functional descriptions on videos. That's a typical thing to do. And again, it's better to use, because the memory can't process. If I'm going to both talk about it and have a text, there's going to be interference, and we won't be able to understand it as easy. If you explain something on a picture, just have the narration and the image to understand. So actually, we can take in more if you use images at the same time. It's 40% more actually. So if you talk about something and you will enhance it if you have images, you will enhance it even more if it's a meaningful context, like that typical situation that they will encounter in real life with their equipment. So these are some of the things. Before I move on, could you raise your hand, all of you that knows how to make an animation in PowerPoint? Could you do it because I don't have everyone on video. If you could do it with in the participant list, like, you know, their reactions like this. I don't get any hands right now. Is it because Teams is slow? Have you raised your hand? I can see Johan has. Yeah. Johan is the owner. Okay.
Actually, I see a lot of people raising their hands.
Okay, now they're coming. I know that.
I also raised my hand.
Yeah, you have. This is a slow function, actually. It takes time. So, well, as you say that, is there anyone that wants a 2-minute tutorial on how to make animation? Speak up in that case, otherwise we move on.
I mean, we can check it out on YouTube so that the group doesn't.
You can check it out. Good, very good, very good. You check it out, or you tell Martin, and I just make a small recording and place it on the Teams. Or maybe I actually can search that PowerPoint on the Teams, put it on the team. Right, move on. Okay, then about slide design a little bit. Marie, you have produced a template and that we can use. And as you said, this is a draft, and we will evolve it a little bit to help it. But some of the things that there's a way of thinking when you make this online learning about slide design is that you have a title that explanatory, and that you only use like the big area for picture, like I have like pictures covering the whole areas often. Use that, and then I have keywords only on it. But what you're gonna say, if you need help, put that in the notes. Because it's often, I mean, the old way of doing things is you put it as bulleted to remember it, but you don't need to do that. You can put all the text that you're gonna say in the notes, and it's actually a good way to do, because when you record videos, that will come up. You will see that text, so you know what to say. And even now, if I want to, now I have my Teams window open to see you, but if I want to do it, I can change. I can see the notes from a slide if I'm unsure what to say on a slide, if I would like to do that. So it's a good day, and that keeps you from putting too much text on the image. Actually, that's a good idea. Slide design. And then what do you place on the slide? I wanted to use an example, a demo, but it actually was so old, so it was used in Flash, and Flash doesn't work anymore. at least on Chrome. So what we should do is to visualize things. In this example, the voice read a typical bulleted lesson, things on the bullet, and then it moved over to visualize, animate it with images and talking, and you can really feel the difference in the comprehensions, how much more you comprehend, because you are so disturbed when they talk and you're trying to read the text all the time. So visualizations is always good to have on the slide, and again, the more these can be stories. I know myself right now that you think you have a little bit too little time, so you don't make those stories. But if you can make example and stories, they are better to use. And you can use photos of parts or controls, animations of functions on schemas and things. You have concepts. This is a concept on mobile, what it's called. My brain is, this is concept animation. And you can have videos. You can include videos of handling, as someone talked about. PowerPoint is nowadays very easy to use for including videos. So if you have a lesson and then want to show something, you can include that video and make then a video of everything on top of that. If there are like relations between, for example, input and output, you can make that kind of illustrations. Maybe you want to show the place where things are used, as you said, the application in a crane or whatever you are controlling, remote controlling. That's typical things you can do in this. And then you use text only for keywords, and so you don't use bulleted text. Don't use data and facts, and don't use busy images. So when coming to text on slides, try to limit that to keywords. That helps people and yourself, of course, a little bit. In some cases, slides are used offline as well. That could be like, in those cases, maybe you want to have a little bit more on the slides so people can read. But you have to remember that if they're gonna see it on a video or in a live session, that's gonna limit their understanding. I used to have, or my, there's the best practice, maximum 4x4. I think I break that sometimes, but I try to not write long sentences. You only have, you see my sentences, like to the right here, they are maximum 3 words actually, 3x3. I mean, that's a typical good to use. And if there are a lot of text, I try to animate the text as well as you talk about it. If you're going to talk a lot about each bullet, then animate it so you know where you are, then students. And again, there are like some type of things that the serifs are harder to read on a screen, so try to use sans serifs. Like Arial or something, and have it close to the object. Okay, what do you think about, I mean, the way we express things could also be different. So what do you think about this way of expressing things? Is it good? What is the problem with this?
I think you started a poll.
Did I start a poll?
How can questions be used? It's a pop-up window.
Okay.
Yes, I had this poll around about 10 minutes when we start after the break. I had this poll also.
Okay. You can close it.
Yeah.
Okay. I closed it myself. If you click done, I think it closes itself. So that's why I was tricked that it was away. Okay, so it should be gone now, is it? Yeah, great. Okay, back to the question. Could you like yeah, of course this is not good, but what is it that's not good?
Much text.
A lot of text. What about the style?
No
keywords.
No keywords, no funny styles. The man looks very angry.
Yeah, yeah, he looks angry. And I think, again, there's a lot of like formal language. It's actually better to be informal. You should include you, like that kind of language, and be direct. And there's a lot of adjective here, proactively identified, like corp language. And if you use a lot of words like adjective, I would say decorations, word decorations, that will clutter and that will make comprehension less. So, I mean, you can be specific. You can express exactly the same thing in half the number of words. So that's something to think about as well. So it's easy to say, use the corp language that you should say. I've seen it so many times. Use your own way. I think this is technical training, and I think you are much more keen on using your own words when you describe things. So maybe as an audience, you will do it better. And then again, this is a passive way of saying things. Talk to the person instead. This activity will help you understand, and so on. So this is, of course, it's easier when you're in a situation as I am with you right now. It's easier to talk to you then. But if you're like making an online learning and you're going to record it on video, then you don't have a person. Then you should even then try to be informal and talk about the person as you, and so on. And then, of course, cut the crap. It's actually, if they have compared instructionally the same content, if it's, I don't know, I think it was half the content, it was 30% more comprehension. So the less text, the more comprehension. And one way of thinking that is I think it's my problem is again, I'm an expert in one area, and I often talk too much about that, and that's a problem. And I really need to think all the time, will that support the objective? What I'm saying right now, that you're gonna make lessons easy and so on. So that's something to take away everything that is not used now or is impacting what they're doing or is difficult. Take away everything of that. And instead, the more context you can use, the more examples, the better, the more relevant and so on. So no nice to know information, because no details and facts. Refer to the manual, help them use the manual instead, and no like decoration or corp language. Maybe you don't have. I don't think it's time actually for break, because this was my original planning, and we are at a pretty late state. So I hope that you will endure 40 minutes more. It's okay? Yes. That you can take a note on this. Don't do like Johan and have too long session and too little. I need to double check my timing. I think I'm talking slower in English and try to explain it double because I don't know, it takes longer time. But let's go into the last small section, and this is actually closing up our own the lesson. It's prepare people for application, and the first thing is to make a summary, and my summary is like this: that the first thing you should do is to really, before you sit down and write, try to understand the users, their needs. Try to understand what tasks are important. Write goals first, and try to think first. What is the best activities for people to learn this? And use the list. As I said, on the team there is an Excel list. You can just write down the different activities you're going to do. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is, I talked about how to develop content, and I'm going to show some more. And that's about try to start by finding activity. Instead of just talking about everything in the manual, try to find the activities and exercises that really trains the behavior you want the roles and users to have. Try to use visualizations instead of text bullets. And there's a lesson structure that I'm going to come to now. I'm going to come to it in the next slide. first, the summary can be 1 to 2 minutes, and we highlight the most important, and then we try to reconnect to the objective. So the lesson structure is like, don't only talk about the topics, the functions, the routines. Also prepare people for learning by motivate them why this is important, set the expectation, the learning objectives, give them context. And then when it comes to the topics, don't just tell everything, start from the behaviors. Think about order, go from simple to difficult or chronological or process or what it can be. Think about the ordering of things. And then finally, stop with also prepare people on how am I gonna bridge the gap from my training to when they are gonna use this information. Remember that they forget, how am I gonna bridge this? What are good ways to support this? And then a part of this could be of the ending, the evaluation, is to give people a quiz. I mean, it's not for you to control them, it's for themselves, because you had set some important, what you think, you are the expert, you know what they should know. So they can test themselves. Do I know the important stuff to start working with G6? So it's for them to grasp the learning objectives. That helps them again, because remembering things, it's hard. You're gonna forget. So the more questions you have, the more people will be better to remember, to retrieve things from the long-term memory. They need to walk a path many times to retrieve the information better. So question is a good way for learning. And try to cover all objectives, of course, and again, do not, what should be the color of the G6 foundation? Black or something. No, it should be on a higher level, like why doesn't it work when the settings are like this? Try to understand that, and then they have to think a little bit. So that kind of quizzes. So and then the question to you, as I said, this was the first part. I don't believe you're able after this, because it's been a lot of one way. You need to do things to really learn. But the question is, are you more able to really talk about deciding what to include, set delivery formats, define learning objectives, motivate learners, create lesson structure, and so on? Are you more able now than you were 3.5 hours ago? Anyone that wanted to comment that? I saw a yes and I saw a so. Any more? Anyone that? What do you think? What do you need to really be able?
Starting to work and practice a little bit.
Yeah, I was going to say,
what you are saying, have said.
Yeah.
Is there a plan for us to work on some, developing?
Yeah.
What to include next?
Absolutely, that's where we're coming to. You need to work with it, and when you work with it, maybe you remember. Yes, maybe I should have a motivation. What was that about? Yeah, and then you can look at the book or recording, and you remember these slides. I'm gonna put up the slides again. So that's right. But more than to help, as you say, one way of remembering things is actually doing them at work. Are there more things we can do to support people to apply things? And not forget it. Now think of the situation. You have a training and you know they haven't bought the G6. They're not going to work with it for 3 months. How can you support that gap?
You just have to follow up or break lessons into smaller parts to keep them engaged, maybe?
Yeah, that's good. That's good. We should have. That's as much as possible. Often that's maybe a logistic problem that you want to make larger workshops. But if you can divide it, that's the better. And if you can have assignment at work and follow up as we're gonna have, that's also good.
Yeah, basically what you said, give them something to do.
Yeah.
Give them an application.
Yeah. That's good. Yeah, assignment at work. Maybe you on that assignment you plan to schedule a feedback session that you're gonna discuss what they have done or review it. Maybe you have a repetition. Some of the things as I've said, they are in the book or in the recording. Maybe you plan a time to look at a few of the things just before you're gonna do, just before you're gonna make these animations in the PowerPoint. Maybe you look at what to think about visualization and so on. So these are some of the things you can do. And this is what you're gonna do, actually, before the next meeting now. The next meeting is it 1 month? Yes, it's more than 1 month. It's mid-April. So before that, you're gonna practice, and the practice is that you're gonna make the PowerPoint script for lessons that you decide on. And as support, you have the ebook. So that means that before that date, within each team, if I understand Martin right, you will sit down together, of course, understand the product, but you have to define the needs and objectives for the users. You maybe think about and list the course activities, and you develop the PowerPoint scripts. And when you do that, you will have this ebook where a lot of what I've said and much more is where you can look at it, look it up. So this is what we're gonna do. And when we do this, we have a thought that it can be easier to follow a structure if you have a template. So Marie and me combined, my experience from, well, technical training at Ericsson and so on, and Scania, is that it's easy to build in the instruction in the PowerPoint template. So if you look at this template, you can see there should be a learning objective, an overview, and then you have the topics and so on, then a quiz place, and then of course for a typical text there are some things to think about. So this template has built-in instructions that you then, of course, you delete the instructions when you have read them and then put the place. And then there is a few slides. And Marie, we had some conversation, and you updated that template. And I'm going to show you where it is. While I do that, maybe Marie, you want to add something on that?
Yes, I just want to mention that, as you see, this one is very, it's yellow, and it's because that is kind of, as we're working on the communication platform for the launch, we have chosen to go with yellow to make G6 stand out from the rest of the products. So this template doesn't look at all like our original template, as you all are familiar with. Just an explanation. And I chose to submit this one so that you don't have to redo it later on. And all the slides, all the different designs are not set yet. We are still working on how to make it look like, but I added some of the designs, some of the slide designs.
Mm-hmm. Great. But I think your first work is then, of course, to understand the needs and objectives and make structure and content, and the fine tuning will come later on, and then there will be a finalized template, of course. Yes. So everything looks good together. So this is, you will find that, and we said that we upload these templates and tools that you can use, and we just chose the first channel, the general channel on the files. So we will upload. You can find things there. for this. And I'll come back to that. I'm gonna just talk a bit more. Of course, if you want to use a list, if you see that you have a lot of different in your teams, different learning activities to develop, and you want to keep order of them, I just made a simple list. This is from a more complex, but I put out a few things that you could use. So again, Martin, I'm quite open right now for planning and instructions. If you want to add things, I mean, you have divided the group into teams and so on. How will this work? Do you have any more instructions now, or do you want to put that in a separate planning meeting? I don't know how it.
Yeah, no, I think we will take separate meetings with each team. Me and Magnus, we had a pre-meeting last week, and we have done a proposal so that some of you will work on the products, the 3 products that we are launching: the micro, the mini, and the CAN receiver. Another group work on optional features like the color display, the haptic feedback, and so on. And some of you will work on the digital toolbox, so that we share the workload and work on the different units. But of course, we need separate meetings with you to discuss a little bit about the content in each of these units, because they are quite high on a high level. These what do you call it, topics or headlines that we have created. And also, of course, it's up to you to participate and come up with learning objectives and what to include under each of the topics, so that you participate yourself and contribute to the topic and to the web lesson.
Great. I mean, this is a first step until mid-April. I don't think we should go further on then, but it's to make the PowerPoint script. And I also wanted to show you. No, I actually have it here. So this team, we can use this if we want to. Now there are, as I said, a few templates there, and you can find the templates and download it. And Marie, I also heard that you might put a library of images there to use.
Yes.
So
a few of them.
Yeah. Okay. So,
and I think also that the teams might have, no, not this team. There might be images available already among the people in this course. But we will definitely put up a folder with some images. And then, of course, for specific images, we will have to ask our colleagues.
So, but
because I don't know what kind of images that will be supportive to each work group.
Yes, no, and also we have Janne here in Stockholm. He has a new camera and a new photo studio here at the office, and you can send requests to him if you want specific pictures for your PowerPoints.
So one big question is, do you think, because this place is at my account, Future Learning Organization, so the question is if I mean we can set up secrecy and so on, so there's no problem around that. But if that's okay, I mean then images and things will be here. We could then also set up a way to list the need for images. I mean, you can locally, I understand you have demo products, you can locally take photos and upload here. That would be good. Then we could collectively create more photos that way. That would be very good. But you could maybe also, we can make a list here where you can write requests to Janne and others to take photos if you want to. So think about that.
Yeah. No, but we can sign a mutual NDA between our companies, and we can use your teams. And also it's quite easy to download the folders and so on from Teams. You get them as a compressed zip file, and you can just move them to our internal teams in the future.
Yeah, we can talk about that, because otherwise we set it up in your team and so on. The only reason for this is that we just made it right now. Another thing, another question you can think about is work in progress. If you want, I mean, you're probably storing things locally, but for example, before the next meeting, which is a Q&A session, you can upload your work in progress. That with multiple, it could be both for me to give you some advices, but it could also be for other persons at Scanreco to make factual correctness reviews. And it could also be to inspire. If you all put up things, then you could get inspired of each other's. So that's another suggestion. We haven't talked about it, Martin. So I just put a question mark there, work in progress, because then we can make folders for that as well. That's up to you how you want to have it.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
That would be a benefit to having the team actually within our own organization, so we're not switching organizations between Scanreco and Future Learning. It's rather cumbersome to switch back and forth.
Yeah, probably.
They appear completely separate. I much prefer to work in like where the files are all cloud-based. You're not uploading work in progress.
Yeah, because then you can use OneDrive easier.
Yes.
Yeah, it would be more normal that you have your own place actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. So
I switched organizations in the middle of this meeting. You may have noticed, and it's completely different. Like I can't. In order to switch back and see some of my other files and directories and things, I'd leave this meeting again.
Yeah, it's another account, and actually, since it's just a guest account, you can't. The interactivity is less. You can only upload and download. I think. I don't think you can. Yeah, well, you can collaborate, but you can do much more in your internal account, of course. So that's a good way. Maybe that's something for us to bring on, Martin and Marie, and then you have to set it up in the account.
Yeah, we can move to and create a Scanreco team instead.
Yeah, great. Okay. As I said, I was removing a section about how the memory works, and one thing of that is that the working memory have limitation, and I think we all reach our limitations. So I think it's maybe not worth talking about that right now, even if there's 19 minutes left. I will instead record it, and the ones that want to look at that can do that afterwards instead. That's supporting material. Otherwise, are there any questions right now?
For having groups do a bunch of slides here, would it make sense to like have standard definitions? Because I know for me, I like to use transmitter, and then people use PCUs and like just the same wording throughout the document, like a stylized definition or usage of words for templates.
Wouldn't that be definitely good?
Yeah.
Marie, you're on mute.
Yeah.
I suggest that you go with the language that we use on the website. We use transmitter, for example. The language that we use when we talk to external people.
I thought it was PCU and CU. Was the language used internally, though?
Yeah, but we're going to talk to people outside of the organization, so we should use the same language as we normally do when we talk about things with people that are not within Scanreco.
Yeah, no, I agree with Marie, but I think since we will be sharing these presentations and practicing presenting for each other and so on, I think we will notice if there are discrepancies and differences, and we can align because we don't have we will create a terminology for all words. It's on the to-do list. I know Marie has been thinking about it, and our technical writer Christian is thinking about it, but we don't have it right now. So I think we just have to start preparing and creating our PowerPoint presentations, and then of course we will review them and make sure that they are aligned when it comes to terminology and the visual aspects and pictures and animations and fonts and everything.
Yeah, great. So it's coming.
But if you the more correct that you do from the beginning, the easier for everyone, of course. So my suggestion is still there.
I never even noticed we use the word transmitter in the webpage. I get engineering and say it's not actually a transmitter, it's a transceiver, but
okay.
As far as like what's next, and you mentioned the groups, and like, is there a list somewhere of what each group is responsible for, who's in the group, and
yeah, no, we did it very simple, me and Magnus. So we put Team North America as one group, since you're more or less in the same time zone and used to working together, and we made Team Italy and Team Sweden and so on, and we just divided the work on a very high level. That some people will work with Modulate and the digital tools, the portal, and some others will work with products, and some other with optional features like the color display and so on. But I see that we should invite each group to a separate meeting during next week and discuss more in detail what sub topics we see under the main topic that we have at the moment.
Mm. That's great. And then you have, as you said, your bigger plan. You can go through that.
Exactly. I couldn't share the file in this chat, but we have a launch plan for the G6 project, and of course I'll share that so you see different milestones and the deadlines and so on.
Great. Okay. Any more questions right now? Okay. In that case, I was gonna tell you it's recorded. I will upload it. I will upload the images, and you can look at the ebook. But before you close, I would urge you and I like to get some feedback on the lesson and what I do, since I'm doing 2 more of different other subjects, digitalization and web lessons. So it's good to get some feedback, and I can change things until then. So if you use the mobile phone, and I will actually take away the presentation like this to cut and paste the link for easier access. Like this. If anyone wants to go that way, you can do that. yeah, if you're ready with filling in the form, maybe if you want a last word, feel free. Last question, last word. Otherwise, I see you in a month then. And I think we have been coming into much more concrete work at that stage and have concrete questions on things.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
Yep.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have
Bye.
a
Bye.
nice
Thank you.
day,
Bye.
and for the rest of you, a nice evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye.
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 Bye.